was only a bit later on that we started talking about like MI5 and things like that.
Did you tell her at this point that they were trying to kill her?
Yeah.
He had all the authority in saying what we were doing and when we were doing it and how we were doing it.
In 2009, 25-year-old Wayne Gouveia hit the headlines as one of Britain's most disturbing hoaxers.
My phone was bugged, my house was bugged, my work was bugged.
This is the story of how a teenage girl was trapped in a very modern kind of nightmare.
He terrorised her. He absolutely terrorised her.
There's no doubt he brainwashed her.
And I just wanted him to disappear.
What seemed like every girl's fantasy soon turned into a horror story of kidnap, fear, and mind control.
It was like, shh, do you want to get yourself killed?
"19-year-old Leanne McCarthy's nightmare began on a day like any other. She was on her way to work at her aunt's jewellery shop in Oxford when she spotted a new face.
First time I saw Wayne, I was walking along Tell Street to work, and as I was walking along, the whiskey shop was just opening while they were decorating to open. And Wayne was crouched in the doorway, kind of looking up, smiling at me. And I smiled back and kind of just carried on walking and thinking, you know, oh my God, who's that?
Wayne was an assistant, sales assistant in the new whiskey shop that had opened up along the road.
Tall, well-dressed, nicely spoken, seemed like a genuine, really nice guy.
Right from the start, Wayne pursued Leanne relentlessly.
I can remember walking to work one day and I just bought a new pair of earrings, like some Claire's accessories, you know, nothing exciting. And Wayne again was outside 9:10, and he was like, oh, you know, hiya, how are you? You know, and then he was like, oh, I like your new earrings.
The constant attention was flattering, but at first something made Leanne hold back.
Everyone was kind of like really pressurising me to kind of go out with him, you know, he's saying how lovely he is, how really, really nice he is. I just thought, you know, what harm can one date do? You know, I'll go and I'll just see how it goes.
Now Wayne had got his girl, he offered her a fantasy straight from the pages of a glossy magazine.
He took me to the Randolph Hotel for a meal. Whilst we were having dinner, he actually ordered like a £300 bottle of champagne.
It tastes nice.
Yeah.
It should have.
And I remember him saying to me, but this is the lifestyle that you could have. I just remember thinking, wow.
He seemed like he obviously was from a good family and had a good upbringing. And
decent background.
Good school.
I know, I just couldn't believe he was interested in me at the time. I used to think, oh my God, why is he interested in me? Like, out of everyone he could go out with, he picked me.
Everything about Wayne appeared perfect. For a girl from a council estate, his canal-side apartment was impressive. So was the Audi parked outside.
This is the kitchen where he cooked our first meal. We had steak and chips and salad. This is where he said was his bedroom. And it's where we sat and had dinner with the candle in the middle of the table.
Wayne certainly had style. What no one knew was how he afforded it.
We knew that he worked in the whiskey shop as a sales assistant, so we knew that his salary can't have been that fantastic. Me in particular, I used to ask questions about where he got the money from.
He just spent money like it really didn't matter, but even people that are well off wouldn't just go and spend that silly money on things.
We were kind of laid in bed together. It was quite late at night, pitch black. I was like, can I ask you a question? And he was like, yeah, of course you can. You can ask me anything you want, you know that. And I was like, well, where do you get all your money from? That was when he said to me, well, I've been meaning to tell you something for a while.
Wayne's explanation when it came was incredible. His shop job was just a cover for his real assignment as an MI5 agent.
I remember kind of all sorts rolling around in my head at the time thinking, you know, what the hell was he based in Tell Street for then? He told me that there was a major planned armed robbery on our shop and that basically our shop was under surveillance and had been for a while.
The idea of a raid was frightening, but not surprising. Aunt Mary's shop had been targeted many times before.
One was a really nasty armed robbery, and during that time we did actually have an undercover police officer working in the shop.
By this point I was kind of thinking, you know, can I tell Mary? And that was when he kind of just turned and started getting quite angry at me, saying, you cannot open your mouth to a single soul. He was like, you'll jeopardise everything.
Something in Leanne wanted to believe Wayne. It certainly made her life more exciting.
You could have said it was an aphrodisiac to the relationship because I wanted then to get to know him and find out what was behind it, you know, what was going on.
Wayne had drawn Leanne into his double life. Now he began to share his secrets, including where he worked.
I dropped him there numerous amount of times, and one day he actually pointed to me to show me where his office was. It was on the 2nd floor, and he told me that whenever the light was on or whatever, he was kind of there to prove that I wasn't actually going to say anything about the operation. I had to sign the Official Secrets Act document.
Leanne proved to be good at keeping quiet, and by Christmas her MI5 boyfriend was an accepted member of her family.
Because there was all these presents from Wayne. We just had gifts everywhere. They would just cover the whole floor where the tree was.
She was ecstatic, kind of like, ooh, you know, like loads of presents.
Quite expensive hairdryer, a lot of clothes, expensive designer pair of shoes, a matching handbag.
I thought basically he really had fallen head over heels for Leanne.
Leanne assumed the same, especially when Wayne threw in a skiing holiday in the Alps.
When she got back, she said she had a real brilliant time. She had lots of photographs of her smiling and enjoying herself. Not very many photographs of Wayne, but mostly he took them of her, which she found really strange.
Leanne brushed aside any doubts about Wayne. She was enjoying what felt to her like a celebrity lifestyle. But now Wayne said the holiday was over. There was work to be done.
We used to talk in the police code, saying like Echo Papa, and actually talking to somebody on a radio. He was like, that's it, that's the car we need to follow, and it was this black car.
Soon, Leanne was sneaking out nearly every night to go on surveillance.
She was constantly distracted because he wouldn't let her concentrate on anything else. Wayne became obsessed with Leanne, and we would be at work and he would text message her constantly.
I noticed that she spent less and less time with me and other friends and other family members. She always had to spend her time with him.
Life undercover was lonely for Leanne. After 6 months with Wayne, she still hadn't met any of his friends or family. Now he reluctantly agreed to take her to Portugal to visit his parents.
We were quite relieved because he was so mysterious up until then. Hadn't met anybody really that knew him other than the person he worked with.
Leanne met up with Wayne on the way to the airport, but something was wrong.
He was like, the armed robbery is due to happen. I can't tell you much now.
All Wayne would say was that there was no way they could risk the trip to Portugal because the jewel thieves were now on their tail.
Wayne became quite aggressive, just telling me to shut up, move, get out of here as quick as I can. The next thing I'm told, I'm actually going to be kidnapped, tied up and put in the back of a van and taken away. I just remember feeling, you know, anything could happen to me now.
Leanne McCarthy was an ordinary shopgirl from Oxford who'd found herself in the middle of a spy plot. 6 months after meeting her MI5 boyfriend Wayne, she was on the run from a gang of kidnappers.
He's just telling me just keep myself controlled.
Wayne said he'd arranged a safe house at a hotel near Heathrow. Now he explained what could happen if the gang caught up with them.
They had made a room for me, he said, where they were going to lock me underground. I felt like my heart had stopped and I'd completely froze in fear. If it wasn't for Wayne, I'd be in this dark room somewhere.
Wayne told Leanne to try to relax. He warned her they could be in for a long night.
And I can remember saying to him, oh, I'll have the Blossom Hill Rosé. I had like a couple of sips and I was feeling really tired. I can't even remember what was on the TV. And he kept saying to me, oh, you haven't drunk your wine yet. You haven't drunk your wine. And he said to me, are you horny? And I remember saying no. The last thing I remember was Wayne putting his hands down the front of my trousers. And then I don't recall anything else from that night. I don't remember anything else.
Later, Wayne denied anything happened that night. By the time she was allowed home, Leanne had serious doubts about the man who was supposed to be protecting her. She kept them to herself.
When she came back, she was very quiet. I asked her, did she have a good time? She said yes. I said, did you meet Wayne's mum? She said yes. I said, was she nice? She was lovely, Mum.
Back at the shop, Leanne also had to try to act normally. Although Wayne warned her the jewel gang could strike at any time.
He was like quite intensely watching the house. I had to be here because I had to recognise them and know exactly who they were and what they were going to do.
Even now, Leanne doesn't like coming back here.
You know, even though he's not here, his sort of presence is kind of thing, and it's just not nice. I just don't like being ill. Sorry. Just feel really uneasy, and just exactly how I did when I was here, basically. I just didn't want to be here, I just wanted to go. And I was kind of forced to stay here.
Leanne's MI5 adventure had turned nasty. She wanted to escape from Wayne, but couldn't see how.
She'd gone from this very sort of bright and bubbly character who was full of life to being somebody who seemed to have the weight of the world on his shoulders, albeit with this very dashing boyfriend who was sort of splashing out money on her and taking her here, there and everywhere. It didn't seem to make sense at the time.
When Leanne tried to draw away from Wayne, he responded with tickets for a holiday in Tenerife.
I can just remember kind of Wayne turning back into this really nice guy. He was like being really nice again. He was like kind of really there for me all over again, and it was like, you know, well, who are you and what have you done with Wayne? We were having a really nice morning. We had kind of sat on the rocks, and I was actually sunbathing at the time. And I can remember Wayne's phone ringing. The gang that are doing the armed robbery, they found us and they're here. We got back to the hotel and he was like, right, we need to go up to the room. 10 minutes later, Wayne kind of reappeared. His lip was bleeding, his t-shirt had been ripped open. They had kind of scrambled out and like kind of physically had a physical fight. The beds had been thrown all over the place. The table had been pushed over, and he said to me that he had to go out. I was just pleading with him. I was like, don't leave me. I can kind of remember standing by the door, locking the door and just running into the bathroom. And just locking myself in the bathroom because I was so scared. I kind of remember just sitting by the door with my back on the door, actually shaking. Just wishing he'd come back, you know, I was on my own. With nothing in the room, just petrified. These people were going to come back and get me. I was shaking, and I was actually physically sick as well. The holiday in Tenerife really changed things for me when I got back. You know, it was like a major turning point, and I just wanted to find some sort of way of getting my life back. Just feeling like a prisoner stuck in a completely different world, but trying to act like everything was okay. I used to say I was weak. He's telling me to shut up, move, you've got mental issues, you're mental.
I think she thought she was going mad.
She was pale, she was losing her hair in patches, and she always had sort of black under her eyes where she was tired because she couldn't sleep a lot. She lost weight. It just didn't look like her.
You need deception. You think you are actually being mental. You're a stupid bitch. How could I accuse him of lying? You were going to be kidnapped. All he's done is protect me and keep me safe.
It was a chance meeting that led to Leanne's nightmare. Now a chance discovery would set her free.
She came through the door screaming, and I sort of jumped up and said, Leanne, what's the matter? And she was just crying and screaming and saying, Mum, I'm in trouble. I'm in real trouble. She had found a load of letters hidden in her room. All the letters were red letters, final demands, and debt collectors.
In order to fund their extravagant lifestyle, Wayne had run up debts in Leanne's name to the tune of £14,000.
Leanne had been robbed. Wayne had obviously been robbing her all the way along.
Only Leanne knew there was more to it than money. She finally told her parents everything about her MI5 boyfriend.
I've been dying to tell someone rather than me holding on to this big secret.
I couldn't believe what he was saying, you know, that he was an MI5 agent. So knowing what he'd done to my little girl was outrageous, totally outrageous.
Even the detectives who now began investigating Wayne found it hard to grasp what he'd done.
File was passed around their office as it was such a unique case. There was obviously a huge amount of theft that had gone on from her bank accounts, possibly threats to kill. That he was claiming that that her mail had been poisoned with anthrax. And in the end, it came up with 3 separate charges for fraud by false representation.
In March 2009, Wayne was sentenced to 18 months in prison. The irony was that he'd spent nearly all the money he'd stolen from Leanne on holidays and presents for her. He told the police he only did it to impress her.
I wanted to impress her when we first started going out, and we would, spend a lot of money, hotel and things like that. I guess I just wanted to keep impressing, and it just really spiraled from there. It was only a bit later on that we started talking about MI5 and things like that.
I think Wayne is an accomplished liar, certainly. And he's able to isolate his victims and take advantage of them, yeah.
Leanne found out Wayne hadn't even owned the luxury flat. He'd rented it for the day.
Did you make out it was your apartment?
Yeah.
Was there a certain car parked outside?
Yeah, it was an Audi A4.
Okay, so did you tell Leanne it was yours?
Yeah.
Leanne, it turned out, was just the latest of Wayne's victims.
He knew that she was a, kind-hearted person and that she maybe would be easy to groom, and he did it. And it took him a long time, and I think he was very clever, but that's what he did.
The real Wayne was just an ordinary boy from Bicester, desperate to be something more. He'd already posed as a lottery winner and a Formula One racing driver.
Okay, so when you told her that the room had been robbed, what did you do then to convince her?
I messed the room up.
Did you do anything to your shirt?
I tore my shirt.
So you made out that you'd been in a fight?
Yeah.
It became not even so much about the money that he'd taken, it was how he'd kidnapped Leanne and kidnapped her mind, and not one of us knew.
I think he was lucky, I was lucky that our paths didn't cross. Very lucky, really.
He invaded me, personally, and ruined my life. I just felt like I wanted to run away. I wanted to be somebody else. I just didn't want to be me.
Wayne Gouveia is due to be released from prison. Leanne is wondering who he'll target next.
I don't think that Wayne could reactivate the power that he had over me. However, I wouldn't even give him a chance to apologise or anything if he ever wanted to, because I just would never put myself in his control ever again. It feels bloody brilliant to be back into kind of reality and it's everyday life again. And I'm like back to the old me who I was before I met Wayne.